In fact, I wanted to say that as Assalamu alaikum. And this is because I'm happy, and also after saying Assalamu alaikum, happy Eid al-Malud. And my guest this morning, I've got Mr. Wahab Olushola Agbomeji, who is the missioner of Ansarudin Society of Nigeria, Ori Okuta branch, that is a Greek in the Ikorodu area of Lagos. Thank you very much for coming on, sir.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you. Is that in response to my assalamu alaikum?
Yeah, very well.
Thank you very much, sir. And Abdul Aziz Maruf Onike, Chief Missioner of Nasrillahi Fati.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. When you greet in Islam, the person you have greeted, you have to reply in better form.
There you go.
You have to repeat the prayer that you have said. I request for peace, and I request for peace, blessing for you.
Thank you very much, sir. Chief Missioner of NASFAT. But I think the full extension of NASFAT is Nasrillahi Fati.
Yeah,
right.
Right.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. And we've come through, in these times, in fact, we're still picking up the pieces. We've come through a harrowing kind of a time as a nation. And maybe it's time to, what we're doing now is that we're asking questions. And the birthday of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be on him, is there a way in which there are lessons that can be taken from the significance of this particular day as relates what we are seeing and what is happening now? And indeed, the cleanup, if you want, the picking up of the pieces.
We thank Almighty God for making us to be alive. And I greet the entire Muslims by saying happy Eid al-Mawlid. Allah has blessed us so much by giving us our noble Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he summarized it in Quran chapter 3 verse 4. You have the Prophet, the most exalted character, the standard in character. He was persecuted for 13 years in Makkah. That was his birthplace. He was persecuted. They did a lot of things for him. They wanted to kill him. Eventually, Allah commanded him to leave Makkah. He left Makkah for Medina, and he was welcome in Medina. He spent 10 years in Medina. After some time, Allah gave him the dream that you have to go back to your place. When he went back, he defeated the enemy.
Okay.
And after defeating them, he said, "You, my people in Quraysh, what do you think I want to do for you today?
Mm-hmm.
I've had powers over you." He came to Makkah with 10,000 soldiers. They were overwhelmed. They couldn't have attacked him. Said, and when he wanted to reply, because the Prophet was so gentle, so humane, so tolerant, said, "Now I have powers over you. What do you think I will do for you now? Because you have persecuted me for a long time. You kill a lot of my people." They said, "We know you to be generous. You know your family to be generous. You know your brother to be generous. You know you can't do any harm to us." He said, "I forgive all of you."
There you go.
In spite of the persecution.
There you go.
In spite of the persecution. He said, Ismaul Laka. He said, be tolerant. People will tolerate you too. When you tolerate others, I said, despite the persecution, 13 years, he left his birthplace and became a refugee, so to say, somewhere for 10 years. When Allah gave him power to come back to his birthplace, instead of taking revenge, he pardoned everybody.
Okay, let me pick up on that stream and the symbols in there as I bring it over to, well, Missioner, how should I address you properly? Mister is hardly the right way. Would it be Hajj, Imam? Okay. Imam, is that correct?
It's okay.
Oh, okay. I wanted to take some of the symbols from what we've just learned. He spoke about the enemy as part of this whole thing. Now, the protest that we witnessed, I guess the youth decided that the enemy, if you want to put it that way, was not non-inclusiveness. The enemy was, you know, some of the policies that they thought the authorities weren't sensitive to. And I want you to take it from there, trying to find an Islamic perspective, because the president, it has been noted and has been seen, he was quick to accede to their demands. but you know how it went after that. Give me, if you will, some sort of sum up of there.
Alhamdulillah, I mean, one thing about the significance of today's celebration is that Islam is a balanced religion, and the Prophet ﷺ has been described as the noblest of mankind. So he laid a very solid foundation for mediation. He laid a solid foundation for conflict resolution. These are things that he himself exemplified during his time. The successive Sahabas also emulated the Prophet. When there are issues, challenges, confronting them, they always come to the round table and have those issues ironed out. So in respect of this protest, which has caused a lot of havoc, that has unleashed mayhem on the states and beyond Lagos State as a whole. Mm-hmm. From Islamic point, we have two issues. Some have the opinion that protest is not allowed in Islam.
Okay.
And some scholars felt that there are instances by which you can protest to the constituted authority so far that you maintain civility, so far you maintain decorum. Because in the Quran, if you go to Quran chapter 4, verse 148, those who are the proponents of protest, they rely so much on that particular verse that when the authority denied you of your rights, you have every right to complain to the authority, and they must listen to you. Mm-hmm. But because those who are against the idea of protest, they are of the view that protest, you only know what you are going to start with. Okay. But the end result of it, you can't envisage it. And that's exactly what we experienced. Because the protest started very well. We were coordinated. Everything was going on fine until perhaps we felt that some people hijacked the structure and all that. And everything...
Well, actually, it was hijacked. I think just about everybody has said that it was.
But some people will tell you that it wasn't hijacked. It is the same people.
Okay.
Some people will argue that what you want to give us as evidence that it was hijacked. But some of us believe that it was really hijacked.
Okay. This is interesting because this also brings us to another strand of our conversation, which is the role of social media and indeed fake news and how important that is. But, because it would seem that we're looking at maybe the Islamic perspective, and the Imam has just told us that, protest is allowed. There are certain strictures, but take it from there, because he also brought up something else about differing views and opinions, and the internet is playing a large role in all of this.
Disseminating information in Islam, that's why I said at the beginning that this is a way of life. Everything that we do in Islam has a reference point in the Quran. Everything that, whatever you do, that if somebody comes to you, say, bad person comes to you with a sort of information, verify the information. Don't have quick fingers. Don't just press whatever you get. Because on the day of Qiyamah, on the day of judgment, whatever happens, the consequences of it, you are going to bear it. By the time you are standing before Allah, Allah says you have killed about 10 people. And you are amazed. I didn't go to war. He said your handiwork, the information that you shared, caused the death of so and so people. It means you are guilty of murder. What do you gain by passing false information when you have not verified it? Allah says, on the day of Qiyamah, your sight, your sense of hearing, every senses that you have will be questioned. Every sense you have will be questioned. And you don't know that, this is the calamity that I've caused for the entire people. Only Allah knows where this thing has started from. And I wanted to say that when they were protesting peacefully, and I believe that those who are in Lekki, they were peaceful throughout.
As well as Alausa in Lagos, if you're speaking about Lagos here in the southwest.
But the blame should be on the leaders and some of us, the elders. We didn't tell them, they did not know when to stop. They did not know when to stop.
To reassess the situation.
And because they were youth. There's a proverb that says, let me paraphrase in English. If a child is felling a tree in the forest, it is the elderly ones around that will know the direction in which the tree will fall. It has happened, The demands were presented to the governor, and pronto, the governor took it to Abuja, and the president responded by disbanding the notorious
SARS.
What is? Ordinarily, one would have expected people to say, okay, let's give them two with the benefit of doubt. But we're having trust deficits. And that's a big challenge. That's a big challenge. If I'm your leader and you don't trust me, I have no reason to be your leader.
Even though, perhaps Imam, but one of the things that the youths were saying was that, how many times are you going to tell us you've banned SARS? This was the initial response. We've heard this before. It's not new. And, the Imam talked about, the missioner spoke about a trust deficit. That also played into this whole situation.
Yes. In fact, that was a major contributing element to this problem, because there was no trust between the leadership and the led. Anytime they come around to tell us some things, even during their campaign periods, they promise so many things. But at the end of the day, you see that most of these things, they are left unattended to. So exactly what played out was that you've been saying all these things all this while, but we keep seeing all these people, tormenting us on the roads. We don't have rest of mind and all that. So they want a categorical statement, perhaps maybe from the president, which later came. Yes, later came. But at the end of the day, it's as if they were still not satisfied. But we don't know the reason why a protest does not have a definite, direction. Because that was the way some of us see it. Because it must be a time bound. You can't be on the street forever. You can never be on the street forever. So it shows that because everything must be time bound. You set a target that you want to address particular issues. You have a demand. The demand, as my scholar have said, the demands have been taken to the president, and they've attended to some of these demands. You can't expect everything to be attended to in one day. That's number one. Number two, Imam talked about the issue of when the prophet left Mecca and decided to come back to Mecca after a period of years of exile. After 8 years that the prophet decided to go back, that was when they signed the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. And at that point, even the Prophet ﷺ, left some issues. They came with some demands. The Quraysh, the unbelievers, came to them. They met them. The representative Suhail was, saying some things to the Prophet. It annoyed the Sahabas, the followers of the Prophet. But the Prophet, because he wanted peace to reign, decided to, okay, they want you to remove the appendix of Muhammad Rasulullah. And the man said, no, we don't accept you as Muhammad. If you accepted you as a prophet, we will not be fighting in the first instance. So drop it. Put Muhammad, son of Abdullah, there. The Sahaba said, no, we believe that the prophet is a messenger of Allah. And the prophet said, no, remove it. If that is what will bring peace. You understand that? At the end of the day, they said the prophet and his people should just go back. This year, you are not going to enter this Makkah. Come back next year. Come back next year. We'll come out for you for 3 days. You stay there. But this year, you are not going. All the Sahabas, they disagree with the prophet because the prophet accepted the terms. You understand? But for peace to reign. So the point I'm making is, if you want peace to reign, there are some things you just let go of.
Okay. Thank you very much, Imam. The president, inter alia, had said when he was speaking first about the whole protest and, quite frankly, the tragedy that ensued, that he had sort of recalled that we had responded positively to the request, but some had mistaken it for a sign of weakness. Remember, that was a very ominous, people sort of were able to take that.
As a leader, it's true to conquer.
Exactly.
It's true to conquer. So, that's what I said when Allah mentioned about the prophet in Quran chapter 33, verse 21. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ بِرَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ لِمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ وَذَكَرَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. So you are having the prophet, the best example. Whoever has hope in Allah and has hope on the day of judgment and remembers Allah. The prophet was inspecting the guard of honor one day. The soldiers, they were preparing for war, and they lined up. As the way the governor and the president will inspect the guard of honor. The way they will inspect the guard of honor. As they were doing it, prophet, one of the soldiers was not in line. Prophet said, Sawad, be in line. The man say, yay, you poke me, you have hurt me, Prophet. I have to retaliate. Prophet opened his clothes. Because Islam allows retaliation to serve as deterrent to others.
Okay.
People may get, it's a lecture for another day. People may say, what about Luke chapter 20, verse 23 that says that don't, when you are slapped on the left cheek, that person will continue to slap everybody. You continue to slap everybody. Although taking revenge is an exception, not the rule.
Yes, it's an exception, but it is permitted. There are circumstances in which it is permitted.
Because you slap me on the right, and I turn left, you will continue to slap.
Okay.
The president said, he will remove his clothes.
Take a stab.
Take a stab. The man said, no. The man just kissed. He said, this battle that we are going, I may not come back, and my body has touched your body. I'm happy with that.
Okay. We've got to take a break now. Please stay with us. We'll continue immediately after this break. SARS protest and also related issues. Now, information, let me bring this to you, if I may. The information that was also out there was largely social media information. In fact, people were communicating, and not all of it, unfortunately, apparently was accurate. In fact, it's caused confusion, and meanwhile, information can inflame passions, and it can also bring about peace. There is a certain alleged recklessness going on now, the way information is put across. So much so that, for instance, our relative unity, let me put it like that,
was threatened.
Was actually threatened. And you have ethnic groups scrambling, as it were.
Capitalizing on the situation.
Well, on the one hand, and leaderships of those groups scrambling to diffuse the situation and put the lie to some, quite frankly, horrible stories that began to, circulate. Would you like to comment on that, and I'll bring it to you too?
Well, as my national missioner have said earlier, that when it comes to information, the first thing that you must do is to verify. In fact, in strategic studies, you verify by reasoning. And you need to ask yourself a series of questions whenever information comes to you. That why is this information coming at this time? For what purpose? What do you want to achieve from that particular information? In fact, if you convey a wrong information, as Imam have said, and at the end of the day, the consequences were so catastrophic, just as what we are experiencing now, you will be liable on the day of judgment for it. Because Islam does not allow you to spread false information. That was why Islam says in Quran chapter 49, verse 6, in ja'akum fasikun fatabayyanu binabahin fatabayyanu, that if there comes to you any information, the first step you need to take is to verify. You verify because you don't need to mislead people. Largely all these mayhem and all, the experience, the ugly incidents that happened in Lagos was largely as a result of false information.
Bad information.
Because they said, so many people were killed. Some of those people that were posted that have been dead start resurrecting, so to say, and all that. So, but you discover that Islam has put limitation. In fact, if you are going to ask me, I would say all the social media need to be censored.
Okay.
Need to be censored because to avoid recklessness.
Well, and that is a sensitive subject, and let me bring it to you, Chief Missioner. That is a sensitive subject because government, I think the Minister of Information put it out last year. It was on the table last year, and that there was a need to regulate social media, and a lot of voices were raised in opposition. Now this is dictatorship. You want to quench voices. Now, when the professionals were the main people in charge of information dissemination, aka newspapers, radios, television stations, and professionally trained journalists, all that the missioner of Ansarudin said, these were normal workday tools. You have to verify. You verify, and then you carefully put out the information with the public interest in mind. Social media, everybody and his dog is a publisher. No strictures at all. When you take that background and look at the government interest in regulating social media, what's your opinion?
And that's where I'm going.
Okay.
We have taken a lot of things for granted. And I have to say this, some of our leaders are not ready, they didn't prepare for that position.
Okay. The position they were elected into.
Oh, God. As a leader, you have to be firm and fair. There's nothing you do that people will not complain about. But you are the one that will stand before your creator to say that, okay, I've led these people this way. Whatever you do, people will complain. It has become, journalism, as people go to university to study for about 4 or 5 years, and they come out, they know the etiquette, they know the rules, and everybody is now a journalist. And we have left things to go anyhow.
It's gone to the
and we are now seeing the consequences. Apart from regulation, when you regulate, you will enforce.
And how easy is it to enforce?
Then number two, the whole thing has gone scientific. When you enter TVC, for example, now, and there's one of these studio that I am, and you want to browse, you can browse. Governments will have the facility to verify any information that is going out. They can say that this kind of thing, there are scientific ways.
The government can monitor internet traffic, of course.
They can monitor it.
So you're saying, well,
it's good scientific.
Yeah, but that's part of the regulation, monitoring. Well,
they may say you are prime to their privacy. And I'm saying as a leader, no matter what you do, people will talk. If you are doing something in the interest of the entire Nigerians, you will believe eventually. Our prophet says, Isara Hadumen Kumelemonkara, Paligaji Rubiadi, Palamesteti, Fabilizani, Palamesteti, Fabicolibi, Tadakadiafli Iman. So if you see something that is bad, correct it with your hand.
Okay.
Part of correcting with your hand is, okay, what are the ways of managing this thing? And if you make scapegoat of some people, you make scapegoat of some people that, okay, you have given out false information, and this is the consequence of false information. Are you trained to give information? In Nasrullah Al-Fati, we have what we call media contact. Not all the leaders can talk in Nasrullah Al-Fati, nobody can talk. Because I know that when I'm talking on behalf of the entire 1 million, about 1 million members of Nasrullah Al-Fati. Only myself and the president can talk. And we'll be conscious of whatever we see. Because they rub off on the image of the society. And I can even embarrass my members. Which I'm choosing my words. If I'm going to spend 3-4 hours here, by grace of God, I'll be choosing my words. Because I'm not representing myself, I'm representing a group of people. The same thing, the same mindset.
Is what everybody should adopt.
Especially our leaders. What I'm doing, okay, I've taken the oath to protect these people. They may not know the effect or impact of what I'm doing now. But by the time they are seeing the results, they say, oh, if you are bathing a small child, he'll be crying. When we leave him, okay, because I don't want him to cry. And he develop body odor. He will hate you for life. But by the time we are doing it because that trust is not there. When he became a prophet, in spite of the persecution, and because of the instruction that Allah has given that وَأَنذِرْ أَشِرَاتَكَ الْأَقْرَبِينَ, warn the people who are close to you, warn your family first. You have got this message from me that is worship Allah, but start from your, invited all his family members, his uncles, and I said, if I tell you that there's a wild animal behind the wall that's coming to attack you, will you believe me? He said, you have never told a lie. He's not talking about faith, he's not talking about Islam. If first of all say, okay, my people, my family member, my relatives, if I have to tell you that there's a wild animal behind that wall, coming to attack you, well, you have never told a lie to us. We will believe you. He said, the message I brought to you is that worship Allah, believe in me as a messenger, and don't worship any other thing. That trust should be the foundation. And as a leader, you must be firm and fair.
Imam, what I hear, the chief missioner saying there is that there's an aspect of personal responsibility attached to all of this. The speed, perhaps recklessness with which we forward stuff, not verifying it. We've spoken about that already. But it also is a fact that when thoughts came about of the need to regulate social media simply because people wouldn't do the right thing just because you asked them nicely, there still are vehement voices against the whole idea, bearing in mind the fact that, one, we're a democracy, we have our constitutionally guaranteed freedoms. Even social media itself gets in on the act, saying WhatsApp, for instance, is a closed app. I don't know the extent to which WhatsApp can be monitored because it's a closed app, and WhatsApp says even it itself doesn't know what you guys are talking about. So I don't know how easy it's going to be for government to monitor. But the Chief Missioner appeared to put a premium on personal responsibility, because he did indicate that when they were talking, that the person was saying, this is not about Islam. This is about, and they got the response that you've never told us a lie before, so we will believe it.
Let me take it from this prophetic saying. The prophet was reported to have said that مَا مِنْ أَمِيرَ عَشَرَ إِلَّا أُوتِيَ بِهِ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ مَغْلُولًا حَتَّى يَفُوقَ عَنْهُ الْعَدْلُ أَوْ يُوبِقُ الْجُوعُ. That there is no leader that will have more than 10 persons as a subject,
will not be changed,
unless on the day of judgment he will be brought before his maker, who is Allah, in chains, until justice sets him free. So now it boils down to the fact that as a leader, the first thing that you must have at the back of your mind is that you must be just and fair to everybody. So if you want to be just, then your principle will affect some others negatively. There's no doubt about it. Look at what we experienced in Lagos, that tragedy. Some people use this, the situation, and start looting unnecessarily, recklessness. So it shows that if a leader is not firm, he will not. In fact, so many things will go unchecked.
Could I, interrupt you briefly, because I want to take Garba, who has called in from Makurdi. Good morning, Garba.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling.
Good morning to your guests in the studio.
Indeed.
First of all, I kind to sympathize with you people. That day that incident happened, locally enough, I was watching your program. Then Marayu and others went off.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
With you people over there and all people in Lagos.
Okay.
By and large, I'm Muslim. And I'm living down north. And I'll tell you this for free, Uncle Yori. That's why you see the protest in North is not kind of maybe in line with what is going down there in Lagos. One, there's imams that they preach seriously.
All right. We lost Garba there. But I think the line along which he was going was that in the north they had a different perspective and
of
what was going down, and they therefore behaved differently. But even though Garba didn't finish, what he was saying, but I think the north was largely remarkable for the fact that it didn't, go into the protests, exactly. Even though it put, if we can believe social media and people spreading stories, it put its own spin and perspective on why the north was not involved. But I imagine all these investigations that are going on.
Those who have access to social media may not be as much as we have in the south here. The awareness may not be much there. There are some, you have some few of them, some few of the states that experience this kind of problem in the north. Because of the awareness of the people in the south, information fly easily in the south. People who are living...
the teeming masses in the north don't necessarily have access.
That could be
but that is not to say that a sizable proportion of the north is not also online.
There was problem in Taraba, there was problem in Adamawa, there was problem in Kaduna.
So it's just that the volume.
That's the volume. We are talking about the commercial nerve center of Nigeria. That is why Lagos was so much hit by the crisis.
Okay. So you were saying, and I was looking at how it has been alleged that ethnic divisions, have been unnecessarily widened as a result of all of this.
In fact, at this point, we shouldn't be talking about ethnicity in this country again. Those are the lessons that we need to learn in the life of the prophet. If you go to the same Quran chapter 49, Allah told us that, you are nas, that all mankind, we have created you into we have created you into male and female, to pairs. we have made you into nations and tribes so that you could create acquaintance with one another. So there is no point. In fact, that should be our strength. Our differences, our ethnicity should be our strength.
So that is why people are talking about the enemies of the country who are festering hate, because from what you're saying, these ideas are just injected into the situation.
Exactly.
And people run with them. But let me quickly bring in Victor in Badagry. Good morning, sir. Victor, Badagry, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay.
Yes, good morning. Yes, Uncle Yari.
Good morning, sir. Please go ahead quickly.
Good morning, sir. Uncle Yari.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. My name is Victor, calling from Badagry.
Okay, welcome. Go ahead, please.
All right, sir. Thank you so much, sir. I think let me first of all sympathize with the government of Lagos State and TVC, the nation, and so on and so forth.
Thank you.
But I think the point is very simple, sir. We can continue to talk about fake news. I want to look at the role of our leaders, this time around the religious leaders. The role they have been playing. How come? Because you don't say that doesn't mean that some of our religious leaders have taken side. Doesn't mean that's true. Because they have the power to sensitize the people. The leaders are to sensitize the people. When we have the fake news flying out there, what are the leaders doing to make sure that people really know that no, what you are listening to, it is fake? Knowing fully well that if you post a fake news out there, you are the devil. If you are the one spreading it, you are evil. And if you believe a fake news, you are already a fool. So I think we should know and examine the roles of our leaders. The leaders, the religious leaders, be it an Islamic leader, be it a Christian leader, we owe it a responsibility to sensitize our people.
Okay. All right.
This country belongs to all of us, and it is our role to protect and to build it.
Thank you very much, Victor, for calling in.
But I so much love his submission. This is that for us to go back to the drawing board. The religious leaders, they have significant roles to play, especially as we are celebrating the birth of the prophet today. This is a time for us to start, sensitizing the congregants about the life of the prophet. What are those ideals? What are those principles that he left behind for us? These principles were emulated, they were exemplified, they were internalized by the Sahabas. What has changed over time? The prophet was seen as a mentor, he was seen as a model, he was seen as a multiplier, he was seen as motivator. That was why he was able to command the battalions anywhere they go. He was able, to put together different intellectuals, Abu Bakr, Umar, and the rest of them. And they were able to form an indivisible ummah during his time and even after he left. And that ummah was so strong to the extent that even the empires of the world, we are afraid of the Islamic ummah.
Indeed.
I may not completely agree with the caller.
That is the responsibility of the religious leaders.
They can't throw the blame on our doorsteps. They come to us as firefighters. Every government, they come to religious leaders
as firefighters.
As firefighters.
In other words, you're not involved from the beginning.
Policy making, they have set up the public inquiry committee. How many religious leaders are there? Because this is a religious country, this is not a secular country. Secular country means godless country. Because we have agreed to live together in God. These are the first page of our constitution. And we celebrate Maulid Nabi. I will explain it to you.
I think we are secular.
We are celebrating Maulid Nabi.
But we are secular.
We are celebrating Eid Kabir. We are celebrating Christmas.
Yes.
Secularity, definition means godless. Those who won't believe in the existence of God. And when you open the constitution, the third page says we agree to live together under God.
But I think the constitutional intendment is that there is no state religion.
Yes, that we cannot adopt.
Nigeria does not have a state religion. There are Muslims, there are Christians.
There is a religious nation.
Well.
There's a country that allows.
That statement is still debatable anyway.
Let me tell you, you are not at work today because you are celebrating Maulid Nabi.
That's right. So
it's a religious holiday.
We respect all religions.
Yes.
We do not have a state religion.
I'm talking about the country that is religious, that that believes in religion.
But it is not recognized by the Constitution.
The third page says
that is it.
What is recognized by the Constitution is the fact that we are a secular nation. That is to say, meaning we do not have a state religion. There are theocracies.
What do you mean of secularity? Secularity means godless, where they don't care about religion at all. Not that they have adopted the state religion, but this is a country that recognizes Christianity, that recognizes Islam. What I'm saying is this: when they are formulating policies, when we are doing public hearing, how many religious leaders are involved in it? We are doing our bit on the member, on the podium, on the pulpit, to sensitize our people. But when there is a crisis, they don't say, "Oh, go to religious leaders." Even though we have religious leaders who have showed their conscience, as it were. But what I'm saying is that the blame should not be placed at the doorstep of religious leaders. Because the political class usually comes to you as firefighters. Right. But let me bring this very point, because I thought that the missioner was sort of, he had a different perspective on. Quite frankly, the fact is that Nigeria is a secular country. It does not have, meaning that it does not have a state religion. It is not a godless country. No, it's not. You know, it's not a godless country.
I think my imam is trying to bring out semantics. So what that means is that as a nation, we are not adopting any religion.
We are not.
That's just the simple interpretation of that particular word. As a secular state, we don't accept, adopt any state.
We might be the member. We might be a member country of Organization of Islamic Countries.
Exactly, you can belong to anything. So
but we are a secular nation.
Exactly.
So it means secularity means not adopting a state religion.
That's why I said you are bringing up semantics.
Not godlessness.
So the intention of the drafters of the Constitution is far away different from what the Imam is bringing on board. That's just the truth.
When I pick a document, that document should talk to me.
Yes.
Okay. I want to see the right of that document. If I pick up any document.
So that's the way the Constitution speaks to you in regard to that point.
That point.
I see. Okay.
We subsidize pilgrimage. We do a lot of things.
But you already said, sir, that you have to be very careful because not everybody can speak. For instance, in NASFAT, but those that can speak, it is because the information they're putting out is wholesome and cannot mislead anybody. So this is a particularly touchy kind of a point.
I've raised this on several locations. When they say Nigeria is a secular country, what they have in mind is that it's not a religious country. That secularism, the simple meaning of secularism is that it's not a religious country. No. And this is a country that recognizes religion. We are not adopting one.
On the alternative, some might interpret it to mean that there is total, absolute freedom of religion.
Yes, freedom of religion is enshrined in the Constitution, Section 38.
Nobody is forcing any religion on anybody. We are not saying, what I'm saying, some countries don't believe in religion. They don't recognize religion at all. They don't declare holiday. They don't do anything about Maulid. They don't do Christmas. They don't do religion to our issue. And when they want to do any family state meeting, no opening prayer, no closing prayer. What do you call that environment?
Okay, I think we can. Thank you very much. I think we can leave that point here. But I think how we got here was looking at the need to regulate outlets of communication that can be very influential on the public and how they will react to an issue. And this is where perhaps a lot more care is needed. Right now, for instance, things that were said at the earlier stage of this whole process are being recanted. And they're being recanted. The figures are being adjusted, and
the damage has been done.
The damage has already been done. It didn't affect only the South or Lagos alone, but we have heard figures like an estimate somewhere in the region of 1 trillion naira will be required to rectify the damage that has been wreaked in Lagos, for example.
Shows we have not learned any lesson.
This is the whole point.
That's another lesson.
We have a caller coming in from Kaduna. Is that Ibrahim in Kaduna? Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling in. Go right ahead, please.
Thank you. And morning for your guests here.
Indeed.
I think both of them are well. But one thing that just comes to my mind, you people are talking of secular. Nigeria is a secular nation, but we don't adopt one singular religion, which is the best for us because by so doing, I believe that it will create more problems rather than solving the problem. And my own observation here is this. See, we in Nigeria as a nation, from the parents, the religion, the leaders, and the opinion leaders, as well as the youth, all of us are free of this nation. Mm-hmm. You see, for us to get this right now, every one of us must get to work. The nurses, the midwifery, the doctors, the psychologists, the sociologists, the psychiatrists, and indeed the youth, because we call ourselves leaders of tomorrow. We must try to go to work now. Something is wrong with our psyche. Do you see what happened to the policeman that we are talking about? It's the true reflection of the nation we find ourselves. Now, look at what happens now. You cover with a good policy, henceforth, quite okay. The leaders have accepted all the motions. You even accepted one thing that, yes, police also to become a big, which is a very cardinal thing that I picked, and yes, the youth are making the right sense for the first time. But because of that thing that is happening to our psyche, understand? That thing that is happening to our psyche, that is that one phenomenon that is reflecting all of us. The police is the youth today and the leaders today, we are all this because we fail our domestic act.
Well, thank you, Ibrahim. We take your contribution. I suppose one of the more important things that we can be doing now is to be ensuring that we are taking lessons from this event, which on the one hand is laudable because just about everybody said the protest of the youths was justified, and so much so that it was acceptable until it went bad. So when by which I mean that it was infiltrated, or some have used the word hijacked, it was taken over by other people who clearly were not among the protesters, not if we go strictly by what the demands was. But, you know, this means that we need to learn lessons so that when the time for protest comes around again, and I suppose it will, you know, in a democratic nation, but
you can't afford it.
We can't afford.
You can't afford people speaking out if there's anything wrong with the policy. People will continue to talk.
Yes, yes.
It may not be physical protest. It could be protest on the paper. It could be protest in the media. Protest is
one of the comments that was made is that this protest locked down everywhere, and so people are saying that, look, it's possible to protest perhaps without locking down everywhere, because even the people on whose behalf they, you know, no doubt, you know, were also protesting, it got to a stage where they almost reached the stage of fatigue. People couldn't get to hospitals. People couldn't do anything that were, their lives were disrupted. But the protesters apparently were well taken care of. So I think these are the lessons that probably we have to learn. I think inexperience featured in this particular.
Initially, it was 5 for 5, and that 5 for 5 demands were accepted by the government. Now, people now started asking for another thing that, okay, we want it to be increased to 7, we want it to be increased to 6. That was when the government said, okay, no.
Now, at some point, it was increased to 30.
Let's talk to your leader. But any group that doesn't have a leader, we always pose a challenge to the...
As a faceless
who will you negotiate with?
So these are probably some... Mohammed in Jigawa, good morning, sir. Mr. Mohammed in Jigawa? Mohammed, can you hear us? Okay, go ahead, please. Go ahead, Mohammed. Oh dear, I think the lines are clogged. You know, I think, so sorry about that, Mohammed. You could see we had your name up, but maybe there was something on the lines. So we're looking at
some point, the government was ready to, you know, to listen to them and have, you know, a roundtable discussion with them. And that was when they objected that they don't have leaders. You can't have a group of people, even Islam. Islam provides that once you are two, you must appoint a leader. Not to talk of, you know, group of persons coming together and they are saying they don't have a leader. So who do you want the government to talk to? So those are the areas where I faulted those protesters on one hand. And at the same time, you know, one thing about Islam, as I've said, Islam is so balanced to the extent that your channel of communication must not be breached at any point in time. You must be able to, even husband and wife at home, if they don't communicate, the marriage will not last. So father must always, communicate with the children. The children likewise also reciprocate in that manner. So not to talk of a larger society, like a country as a whole. So the government must open channel of communication, which I think at some point you are trying to do, and the protesters were saying, no, we don't have leaders. We will only be telling you our demands. Let us see you doing doing those things.
And communication is a two-way process. You know, the part of the criticism, or if you want comment, that we heard is that the president wasn't relating with us the way we felt he could have. Yeah, he spoke, but they didn't feel that, you know, I suppose everybody's style would be different.
You need to pity leaders. Or is it lies the head that we are the crown?
Okay.
When people have lost trust in you, no matter what you say, you'll be looking for fault in your statement. We have to start from the scratch. Let's build the trust between followers and leaders. If that trust is there, if you are wearing, as you are wearing black, if you tell me that it's white, I'll be arguing after that it's white. That was the relationship that existed between the prophet and his companions. And that's what I say in Quran chapter 40, verse 27. Muhammad Rasulullah, he said, the prophet and his companions, they are so lenient among themselves, they will be harsh to the enemies. That whatever somebody says, we go. It's but your reader say that thing is blue, it's blue.
Indeed.
He said that they will not confirm until we get to that stage when we trust our leaders. They will not be living far away from us. They will be in our midst. We should see them regularly. They should tell us what they are doing. They should interface with us. If they hear, if they make mistake, we will accept it. We will agree with them that, oh, yeah, it's a genuine mistake. But because that deficit, trust deficit is there, no matter what they say they have come again.
Yes, exactly. And this featured prominently in the position of the youth that we don't even know what to believe anymore, because oftentimes they have failed the very, very test that the Chief Missioner has spoken about. That is, they have pronounced and have not delivered on their pronouncements.
It still boils down on the difference in terms of leadership. If we have seen leaders in the past that have done creditably well, we'll, at some point at least, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. But it's because of recycling and the same stories that we've listened to in the past is what is still coming up. You know, we are celebrating the prophet, not because we are Muslims, but because we have seen the legacies that he left behind. As a judge, during his time, justice was not only being done, justice was seen to have been done. There was a case of a woman that was caught stealing, and everybody were appealing to the prophet that the punishment of the Sharia should not be meted on the woman. And the prophet was so sad that atashfa'u ahdin min hududillah. Do you want to intercede on the punishment of Allah? Abu says, Tallah, I swear by Allah, law saraqat Fatima, that if Fatima, my own daughter, is caught stealing, like a idea, I will be the one to chop off her hand. So it shows that even the prophet was ready to carry out justice against himself.
Exactly, but we don't live in our society by these injunctions and by these rules and by these guides.
And that's what it is.
But it's a lesson for us to at least...
And that's why we are saying it. That's why we are saying it now. And as Muslim, as idiot leaders, Imam said, we meet every Friday, we meet 5 times a day, and we drum this thing into the ear of our people, that if you are doing this, you are not following the prophet. If you destroy government property, you are not following the prophet. If you are not living your life the way the prophet lived his life, for Allah to have said, that you have in this man an exemplary character. Aisha said, prophet character is Quran. Everything that Quran says, he demonstrated it. Until we learn that lesson, it's a continuous
thing, because the standards are very high. The way you are narrating it, very, very high. Transparency is also involved there. Clear, key. Transparency. These are things that our society is still lacking.
It's a continuous thing.
It is.
And we have to walk the talk. We have been talking. We have to walk the talk.
We'll continue to talk.
No, and walk it.
Yes.
Walk the talk.
Walk the talk. Immediately they announced that, immediately we experienced that violence. What my society initially did is that a lot of innocent people suffered from that attack. We set up a relief fund. We could have just folded our hands and we say, oh, what have we done? So some people who are innocent have been affected by these activities. We set up a 10 million relief fund immediately.
Okay.
There are people, if you are a petty trader and you are affected, come and see. Most of the time, people don't have welfare packages that will take care of their life. We must walk the talk.
Indeed. Well, that's a fine place to leave it. Lessons, learned from all of this going forward. And I want to thank you very much, Imam Abdulaziz Marufonike, Chief Missioner, NASFAT. Thank you. Nasrillahi Fati.
You're right.
I just went and remembered that.
Right. 100%.
Thank you very much for coming on. And Imam Wahab Olushola Agbomeji, Missioner, Ansarudin's Society of Nigeria, Oriokuta branch in Agric, Ikorodu. Thank you very much, sir, for also coming along. So stay with us, please. We'll take a break now. We'll be right back.
Join me, Precious Amayo, as I bring you news from the epicenter, where it happens and when it happens, staying on top of every breaking story, minute by minute, right at the hour when the city gets busy and just before it sleeps. We're live from every angle with objective insight and analysis. TVC News, first with breaking news.
The TVC News at 7 and the TVC News at 10 are not like any other news broadcast.
It's the big news hour, the hour for the big breaking stories.
We've got some of the best reporters on the field,
Taking you through as it happens.
it's fast-paced, hard-hitting,
With investigations that matter.
bringing in news that affects your life.
With sport, entertainment, and business news so you don't miss a thing.
Experience resourceful coverage with depth.
Every night.
Here are 7 steps to preventing the coronavirus.
Wash your hands thoroughly and frequently with running water and soap for at least 30 seconds. Avoid contact with people's hands and hard surfaces.
Number 3, always sneeze into a piece of tissue and cover your cough with your elbow, like this.
Step 4, avoid crowded spaces.
Step 5, stay at home if you feel unwell, even with a slight fever and cough.
Step 6, if you have a fever, cough, or difficulty breathing, seek medical help early.
And while we maintain social distancing, step 7 and the final step is stay tuned to this channel to receive more updates on the coronavirus.
Every 1 hour, 86 migrants enter Lagos State. It is a beehive of activities. Every second counts in this city that never goes to sleep. There is always something to talk about. We go the extra mile to tell the story of Africa's 5th largest economy. We track happenings on land, on waterways, and in the air. We go against all odds to ensure that you are heard.
25% of the entire spread of Lagos is covered with water.
I'm Adedoja Salamageni. I live in Lagos.
Voted as the best TV station of the year. TVC News breaks into the core of every event as they happen. Following all nationwide big and impactful stories. We tell the news from every perspective, covering every human angle. I am Veronica, bringing you the news you would want to watch.
Words, facts, opinion is the orchestra of these men who do not sway to the synthetic rhythm of opinion. The debater screams words trapped in tempos that run too fast to play back just as the instruments fall in and out of tune. Climbing a crescendo, men take a stand, testing and pulling, slamming the fact of each other, in and out. After the crescendo comes the climax, all notes quietly resting as the debates reach inference. Join me, Mark Otabo, as I conduct the symphony of debates on The Big Issue.
At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Okay, welcome back, and we have another set of scholars, this time Islamic scholars. It's Eid al-Maulud, celebrating the birthday of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. Peace and blessings of Allah be on him. And this time we have Mr. Kabir Akimbolu. He's a lawyer and a public affairs analyst. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me on the program. It's a pleasure.
Indeed, our pleasure. And then Mr. Abdul Ghani Raji, who is head of Department of Arabic and Islamic Studies at Crescent Schools here in Lagos. And it's a fine mix because on the one hand, we have somebody who is in the business of training up the youths, and who uses social media the most? It's the youths.
Absolutely.
There's also an elder component, and of course elders also use it. And I've heard an article where elders on social media allegedly are also very, very guilty of spreading fake news, simply because they actually finger one of the apps, WhatsApp, being a closed app, and also being a very, very easy app. You don't need to register anything. You don't need to set up. All you just need to do is you have a phone number, you have an account. And so elders, it is alleged, simply don't know how to check the veracity of stories, as well as the youths. They don't know, it is alleged, how to check. They just look at the story. It's sweet enough, it's sensational enough, and they've got to share it. They've got to share it, and so they push it onto the children, push it onto their groups, whatever. It might even be an Asalatu group, let it be said. They push it onto all of these groups. So I want to extend the conversation that we also touched on in the last segment. Social media and the challenge of regulating it. Let me start with the lawyer, because why I even want to do that is that lawyers and fundamental human rights, that's their business right there. And we've heard, challenges to the government notion that social media needs to be regulated. Give me your take on this, because there have been powerful voices who have spoken against it. What do you think about the need to regulate social media against the backdrop of false news that it is alleged is fake news, that is what is causing most of the problem?
Yeah. To start with, we have to go to the Constitution first, which guaranteed the right to freedom of expression, and so on and so forth. And where you don't follow this, you see lawyers making some, who raise our voice against it, that, oh, you cannot you cannot deny people the right of
it's guaranteed by the Constitution.
But the problem is this, the society and the people, there is a social contract upon coming into existence. You submit part of your right to the society, and in return, the society will defend you and protect you. That is why you see somebody has stolen your property. It is not you per se that is taking a case against that person. It is the government that is taking a case against the person. Now, coming back home, fundamental right, freedom of speech or expression, you have the latitude to express yourself in the best way you can. However, where your right stops is where the right of others start. Now, you cannot, in the exercise of your right to freedom of expression, hurt the feelings of others, or hurt the feelings, or damage the feelings, or the feeling of the society. If you are doing that, then you have gone beyond the limit of ban set by the law. However, we must agree. Many people may not agree, but I think, and I want to think that many Nigerians will think so with our experience in the last few weeks or months or years, that we have come to that inescapable point that we just have to regulate the media, the social media thing. if there is no law, there must be law to regulate it now. And I think, happily enough, the government has, there is a bill at the National Assembly now, and that is awaiting a passing. And I hope that bill will scale through, so that we can know that if you are given a fake news, there could be punishment for it. Because fear of punishment is what makes people to obey the law. So where there is no law, they say where there is no crime, there cannot be any sin. So if it is created as an offense, then I think people will be more careful in the way they disseminate information or manipulate the people by social media.
Abdul Ghani, I was saying that you're responsible, being HOD of Arabic and Islamic Studies at Crescent Schools.
Yes, sir.
You're responsible for training up the youth, especially. And the youth, they don't know any other thing. This is their own way of communication that they were born into. It's not like us.
Yes.
You had to write a letter and then wait for it to go through the postal system and then get it back. The fastest was maybe television, maybe radio, and then maybe the newspapers. But now, news is transmitted instantaneously. Maybe I shouldn't call it news.
Just information?
Yeah, information, posts.
Okay.
You can post now, and in a second, it's in Ontario,
yes.
It's in Los Angeles, it's in Islasamaja, it's everywhere. How doable do you think this project is? And first of all, do you think it is even necessary, the regulation of social media, because of the damage that it is alleged it is doing?
So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Let me start by saying that information is very powerful, honestly, and the information people will say is power. So I'm speaking from the Islamic point of view now.
Yes, yes.
We need to understand how Islam views information. Islam says that when you are passing out information, you have to check that information. You have to ensure that it is not one that can hurt the feelings of anybody. And if you check the Quran, for instance, now, the Quran says that when someone comes to us, Surah Al-Hujurat, verse 6, the Quran says when someone comes to you with a piece of information and the person is telling you, the Hausas are killing the Yorubas at Ojota, before you begin to kill the Hausas in your neighborhood, you need to check. You need to check if it is true.
You can't even kill,
you can't even kill anyone.
You can't even kill anybody, but I get the point you're making.
I get my point now.
That people need to check.
Yes, let me just say, before you react, before you take any step, before you do anything, are you getting my point now? You need to check the information. But right now, what happens in our country and in so many parts of the world is that the moment someone tells you this is what is happening, you don't even check that information, you just begin to act. But what the Prophet ﷺ, what he taught us is that the Prophet ﷺ said sometimes a single word that you utter, whether you utter it physically or you utter it virtually.
Okay, yes, yes, yes.
Which you take for granted, you trivialize it, you think this is not important, you just put it on social media. That word, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may use it against you on the day of judgment, and you find yourself being punished because of that statement. And now talking about whether social media should be regulated. It should be regulated because our religion, Islam, is about law, it's about order. Where there's no law, there's no crime, like my partner just said now. There's no crime. Anarchy will reign supreme where there is no law. So that is my state. So it should be regulated.
And what is your, I'm just curious, what is your policy in Christian schools, for instance, vis-a-vis tools like smartphones? Because we hear that in some places of the world, children are regulated in that regard.
As a school, we recognize that the youth, they love gadgets, they love technology. And there are so many, a lot of things, negative things that students, youth are being exposed to through social media, through phones and all that. But we have a standing law, and we're very strict about it. In our school, we don't allow students to come to school with phones.
With smartphones.
With smartphones, we don't allow that because we are Sharia compliant, if I must say. We try as much as possible to comply with the core teachings of Islam in our school. And we know how much damage social media or smartphones have done in the lives of our youth. So we don't allow smartphones in our school.
Okay, and I think I remember that there are also schools that are not Islamic schools that also apply the same dictum. Crescent, not Crescent.
Most schools don't allow smartphones in the school.
In fact, Covenant University, for instance, also bars phones on campus, that kind of a thing. But you see, we're still going back. It's it's everywhere. It's in society. It's ubiquitous. And I imagine kids being kids, there probably will be attempts to smuggle in some of those, the use of that kind of a thing. Yeah. But okay, where phones are even freely allowed, that's if you're not in school, people in society. You said that you don't think we can continue using the internet the way we are doing without regulation. Yeah. Of course, you know that also brings on the difficulty. How do you regulate the internet is another challenge that I've always been wondering about. There are societies that I understand can shut Twitter down so that nobody in that society can receive Twitter or WhatsApp. What extent do you think we could go to if we're going to try and regulate social media?
You see, government is a very powerful,
you can say that again.
You understand? They can do anything except when they are not ready to do it. And let me tell you also, one thing is this dissemination of hearing something, and it is true. I know that even when it is true also, you also owe another duty to ensure that more damage is not done. Okay. It's your civic duty when you hear one negative news or you have just received a negative news, if you pass it around, except the one that can cause more damage. If it's the one that cannot cause more damage negatively to you or to other people that you know, it is better you restrict it to yourself and take further steps to ensure that the thing does not escalate. Okay. For instance, if you hear Mr. Tribe A is killing Tribe B, do you need to now send it to your other tribe so that they can be fighting? No. When you have had it, you try to step it down to ensure that it is not even spread. That is your duty as even a citizen of Nigeria to ensure the well-being of the generality of the citizens. So now, as a government, if government is serious with anything, I can tell you they will always regulate. By the time they arrest one or two, three or four persons and prosecute them, logically, I think
everybody will
people will sit up and know that, oh, there is punishment for this.
Because all that you're saying is like taken for granted by traditional media outlets. This is what newspapers have always been doing. It's like self-censorship. They know what you cannot put out there with any form of responsibility. They will not put out gore, for instance. But you see, what is gore? They put it out. Yeah. They will put out stuff.
Like I know very well the traditional media houses, whether print or electronic.
That's right.
They know very well that if you see gory sites, you don't just bring it out in your newspaper because it won't give any positive outcome. It will give a negative, it will send a negative and wrong signal.
So there's no problem with the traditional. So there's no problem with the traditional media.
Yeah.
You know, so it's the ordinary citizen that has now been empowered.
Now everybody is now a journalist. That is just the truth.
And
they don't know the rule. And the publisher, they don't know that the trained journalists have rules within which they can operate. You know, you must verify. You call the other side to air its own side before you just throw it away. So if these things are really regulated or well regulated, then we will not find ourselves in some of the problems.
I don't know the extent to which you will agree with the submission I read on one site that that the elders, you know, there's a sense in which they might unwittingly be playing into this because, look, it's so uncomplicated. You send me stuff, they don't know anything to do with it beyond send it further on. Send it further on. I don't know, first of all, do you agree with that criticism that do you think such could be the case? And we're saying this against the backdrop of, you know, it's easy to check on fake news.
Of course.
If only people knew how to go about it. And there's no great shakes. You could just Google the information that you're about to send. You can just Google it and see if it is available anywhere else. So why would this individual, this singular individual, be the only person that had that information that is not of a wholesome kind? Because if it was really genuine information, you have it. People who have, you know, fact-checked stuff have found that stuff that they are thinking is new has been making the rounds since 2017, 2018. It has only just got to Nigeria, and this is the Nigerian version. You know, what do you think?
Of course.
That is the allegation and the criticism that our elders are inadvertently. Never mind the youth who might not know better. But how about the elders?
Of course, I have a tradition, and I know that it's a tradition of Islam. And I believe that that's a tradition that every, serious religion preaches or talks about. And that's the fact that when you see someone telling you this is what is happening, you should do some fact checking.
Okay.
Are you getting my point now? So if you send someone something to me now, I don't even no matter how sensational the information you share with me on social media is, I will not share it honestly.
Okay.
I don't share information carelessly.
Okay.
I don't do that honestly.
You're not in a rush to be the first to put this out.
I don't do that. I'll first and foremost ask
because there's also the race to be the first.
What is this? I don't like it because I stand to benefit nothing from doing so. So why should I be the one to break news? Okay, am I going to benefit something from it? After all, I'm not a paid journalist.
Where is cloud chasing?
So I don't like it. So I will first and foremost ask you, what is the source of this information? If you tell me this is the source, I will now go and check. I want to confirm from the source myself.
Okay.
I will not just listen to you because you have told me this is the source, and then before you know it, I'll start sharing the information. No.
But not enough people do what you do.
And that is why we are saying this. People should cultivate that habit of fact checking. Check whatever you want to share. And that is what Islam teaches us, and that is what every serious religion teaches us. That's it.
And then there's also mischief going on. Apart from bad information, or shall we say deliberately wrong information, we understand that photoshopping, where you can make a photo say what is not true or doesn't really exist, is also part of it. So they're referred to as fifth columnists that are hired by interests, might be political, might be whatever, that are hired by interests to, just make sure that there's that whole confusion going on out there.
You know why that won't continue? Is because the print media or the traditional media houses, they have objectives, and they want their readers to believe in them. They also they have some motivating factors and so on and so forth, and they know that once you lie once, they may not rely on any news carried by your newspaper or outfit again because of there is a stake. But now, as a social media practitioner, let me call it, or those self-appointed journalists, you have nothing at stake. All you need to do is to just send it out. And there's what they call manipulation of the people through the social media also. Like, oh, this thing, somebody did it. If you do it within 10 days, you will get 10 million in your account, and so on and so forth. Some people believe in this. So with all this, that is manipulation. That's another aspect. You have talked about the aspect that is propaganda and interest. That, oh, I have this interest. Now, as a traditional media outfit, all you need to do, you have to be balanced in your views. Indeed. You have to be impartial. You have to be neutral.
But all these are professional tenants. And these are not professional people. Okay.
Nothing to do with the normal hogwash in the social media.
Let me quickly take another another commercial break. Stay with us, please.
Around 8 o'clock like this, I begin to shoot everybody.
When the friend they is there now, we beg them, please, come. They don't help us until when they spoil everything.
We have reported the matter to the police.
When you see something like this, you don't need to move closer. I love them too. I can't hold that.
No snail, all the fish farm damage.
If it is a river, then we better put a canoe.
Business lives on the fast track of numbers. Business is a strange world where low numbers mean something different. And its currency are speed and time. Finding the open doors of Main Street is not just good business, it's the start of the business. Join us every weekend on Business Week.
Here are 7. There is always more to a story than the screaming headline. The part of a story that is not told casts a shadow. It's like the part of an object that is not reached by light. On TVC News, I'm able to explore the many angles there are to a story, talking to stakeholders, asking the difficult questions, and digging for facts. I believe the viewers are able to make a better decision if they're well informed and understand not just a part, but the complete story. TVC News, first with breaking news.
At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Okay, welcome back. And this morning on TVC, and our guest, Ustaz Abdul Ghani Raji, HOD Arabic and Islamic Studies at Crescent Schools. And we also have Mr. Barrister Kabir Akingbolu, Public Affairs Analyst and lawyer. So, two things. We're talking about, you know, the part of fake news, the social media, and how an indiscriminate use of it, using it without responsibility, can and indeed has led to a number of problems. And actually, it could be lethal. But what do we do if, even before I make this point about people not taking responsibility along the lines that you have counseled and advised and doing the right thing, and look, let that person there think before you forward. We'll come to that. But also, when we're off air, you said something that reminded me of, in Lagos here, southwest of the country, where we're broadcasting from, part of the aftermath is that traffic has become crazy, impossible. And that's because the people who manage traffic for us, take Lagos State for example, the people who manage traffic for us are simply not on the roads. Traffic policemen are not there, LASMA is not there. I don't know if it is like that in other states, but Lagosians will tell you that they've had a horrible time on the roads, locked journeys that should not be more than maybe 45 minutes have been taking 3-4 hours. So this is part of the fallout, and the police and LASMA, maybe being uniformed people, and the vehement protests against uniformed people, especially the police, maybe, I don't know if they're still shell-shocked, but have you experienced this?
Yes,
traffic being almost impossible?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. Let me say this. What you have just said now has just confirmed what we have been saying, that even social media should be regulated. Because in this part of the world, if you don't have laws, that regulate how people behave, anarchy will reign supreme.
Yes.
Just the day before yesterday, between Ikeja there and Ogba, a journey that ordinarily shouldn't take me more than 30 minutes, I ended up spending almost 7 hours, honestly. 7 hours between Ikeja and Ogba.
Even though the traffic lights were working?
Of course they were working.
But
no, they have destroyed some of the traffic lights.
Yes.
In some places.
Okay.
Even the day before yesterday, some of the traffic lights were working.
Some of them were
honestly,
working, but
they were working.
They're still overwhelmed because you still need people, LASMA, traffic policemen, you still need them because not everybody is law-abiding. You know, in fact, I remember there's a video out there, Fela Drotoye, I believe it is, saying that, look, even when there is no traffic, if the traffic light says stop, you need to stop, even though there's no car coming. And most people will say, they just interpret it. But it's just a traffic light. You can't see that there's nobody. And so we don't really like following rules unless there is that power of coercion. That if you dare break it, for whatever reason,
there will be a consequence.
There will be a consequence.
Yes.
So we could bring
Yes,
this is
the thing, because just like you have rightly observed, that, you know, people just don't believe, since the traffic light doesn't talk.
Yes.
So they still need last man police and some other security agents
to be sure that
to be there.
That man will see me if I violate it.
Yeah, that man will arrest me. So because that fear was no longer there. So they believe it's a free-for-all affair.
And there are not too many policemen about.
No, even if there are any, they are too few. And they are also scared, you know, so this is the thing. And you can see the level of the havoc was that much because it was against the police. If it were not against the police, three, 4 policemen will be able to repel some of those attacks. But because they fear for their lives, they are already weakened by the
one of the things we might have done inadvertently is demoralize the police.
Exactly,
you know,
they have been demoralized already, so they have been defeated even before springing into action. That is why you see the whole thing was like.
And that's not the situation that we can allow to continue for too long. It can't continue like that because at the end of the day, we could end up
many of the people didn't even know that we are still coming back to a same society as we are now. Everything has normalized. They say, oh, look at my face. They don't know that they are causing more problems. In fact, if they are to try all of them, I don't know what will happen to our prison that is already
overcrowded. People were releasing prisoners. Yes. I mean, people were just not thinking about it. People were burning state property that was meant for their benefit. I'm remembering now the BRT buses.
That one is a big problem.
And then people went to the BRT bus stands and were actually waiting for buses afterwards. It just goes to show you. So I was going to say that we're talking about the perceived difficulty in regulating social media, such as government is thinking about. As you said, there's a bill in the National Assembly and all sorts of, respected voices are actually speaking against it. So there will be different strokes for different folks.
I want to think that the majority of us should now begin to see it from another angle. But the only problem why you will not blame people speaking against it is this: give government an inch, they will take a yard sometimes. So they may be scared to say, oh, government may go off the line. You understand? To say, oh, don't do this, don't do that. Because for all these media houses, they have some ethics that you cannot broadcast this, you cannot broadcast that. And it has not caused issues. They even have a way the issue, they will say, okay, you can be fined, they can impose some fine and all that, which people have also been criticizing. But the way we are, and this point that we are, at this point that we are, I think we must support the issue of, and bill to regulate the social media. But the problem, one of the problems that we have, when government call it hate speech bill, that is where the problem happens. When you call it hate speech, anything can come within that precinct. So, but if you say to regulate the social media thing and campaign towards that, this National Orientation Agency and the rest of them should work here and enlighten the people to let them know that government meant well with this. It's not that they just want to gag the press.
You went and brought something up that is also very, very important. This is about hate speech and all the efforts that are, online that are in engagement to just put this under control. You can't open your mouth and say anything you want just because you feel like it. Bearing in mind things that you've said here, that you have to worry about sensitivities. Well, when, my brother said people might be worried about hate speech, I thought hate speech can be clearly defined. After all, stealing can also be clearly defined. You might accuse a person of stealing, but a good lawyer can actually prove that that is not stealing at all. What happened is not stealing. So I wonder if the law is still upright, the law is there. The law can take care of all of these things. So people that are, worried about hate speech, maybe it's because they know that what they want to put out there is not so wholesome. Because we're talking about unnecessarily widening gulfs, divisions between ethnicities. There are those who are even annoyed at the use of the word, that we shouldn't even be talking about ethnicities right now.
Yes.
This is one of the issues. Give me weigh in on this whole matter of hate speech, which is also part of it.
My position on that is that the onus is on the government to actually define and delineate what is meant by hate speech. Honestly, like my partner rightly said, a lot of people are scared that if that bill should get through, that the government may want to gag people, that people may not be able to criticize the government even if they are doing the wrong thing. But it's an evil for the government to gag people, and it's a greater evil. But it's a greater evil.
But hate speech in its most simplistic definitions, it's along the lines of you shall not say anything about any group of people, any person.
It goes beyond that.
It does. That's why I said
you are educated. That is why you can define what is meant or what the government means by its speech. Okay. There are people in the market who do not know what the government means by its speech. There are people, even people who are educated, but they are not interested in defending the government, or every single program that the government comes up with, they believe that it's against them. Are you getting my point now? But there should be people who will educate everyone, every Nigerian, including those who didn't go to school. Everyone will know what the government means by its speech. So I was saying something earlier that it is one evil for the government to gag people, but it's a greater evil for the government to allow people with malicious intent to use social media, to use irresponsible use of social media to create or to provoke an all-out war in our country.
Or create uncertainty.
Uncertainty. And that is what is happening.
Willfully do so, maliciously do so, going under the name of, what is it, fifth columnists that they call them?
Yes.
So people have agendas. But okay, again, it's in the National Assembly. We'll see how it's going to go. But there is a need. I don't know how we're going to go if people, because this whole matter about, we've been talking about the more responsible use of social media, it depends on the individual.
Yeah.
It depends on the individual. And this is why it's going to be very, very, very difficult. If, for example, WhatsApp, from the technological aspect, is saying that even we, the owners or the creators or the people driving WhatsApp, we can't see your messages. They're putting it there as a space that we don't know what you people are saying. It's an entirely closed media. So it now comes on the individual to make sure that those that are in the circle, in the address book, in whatever group they've created, it becomes their problem that they sort of have to agree not to be needlessly be in this race, to be the first to share this information without verifying it, without checking it. That responsibility, are you sure people, are you optimistic that people will say, no, this is something I'm going to take seriously?
It's two ways. It can be either way. If government, has woken up to its responsibility, if it could wake up to its responsibilities, like for instance, we have the National Orientation Agency, we have some other agencies of government, go for the next 4 or 5 months, sensitize the people about this thing. If a particular piece of news is, well circulated, it will get to a certain stage that it will have registered itself in the conscience of everybody, in the consciousness of everybody. You now know, oh, this is it. That it is almost sacrosanct, that this is the position. You have no misgivings about this again. You are well informed, you are well educated, you are well enlightened about it. At that point, if they now say, okay, this is the purpose of the bill, then we will now have issues. Now, again, until like such campaign by government, we will be able to show that our problem is not tribalism. Our problem is not Yoruba, Hausa, or Igbo. Maybe if it is some other things, then if there are some other things we should know, then this thing that we want to do is not to affect you, but it's to make a better society so that we can look or we can appear to be like the people of the other world. But now, for you to just sit down in a place and say, oh, this law is coming to be and it's taking effect, it has been passed by the National Assembly, it has been assented to by the President, and it's taking effect immediately, that will not be it. Because people need to be informed first. They need to be, convinced to know that, oh, my interest, everything about this is interest. Whether you are a farmer, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a lawyer, you're a doctor. So if it is shown that, oh, we are protecting your interest, and it is shown very well, then people will not have this unnecessary apprehension.
And because I think just about anybody, you might, I don't know, because you are also, as I said, you're developing children, so you might be practicing what you're preaching, and maybe you don't spend far too much time on social media. But there's a lot of odious stuff going on social media where people are inciting other people. People are scaremongering is out there. Oh, people from this group, they come in, trailer loads. We don't know what it is they are doing, but they've come into our area and whipping up those sentiments. And there are a lot of people, unfortunately, that are going to go with that as the gospel.
Of course.
And these are some of the reasons why social media, excellent as it is, if used properly, can actually be a tool for also destruction. And I suppose the debate will continue in the National Assembly on this whole matter, and we'll sort of reach some consensus, but it's going to depend on the ordinary person, and that has always been a problem. When everybody now has to show that I'm responsible to this, identify with this, and I'm going to play my part in this. It's secret. And so how well can you depend on a person who does what he does in secrecy, who because of his own known intention will not even put his own profile picture on there because he knows that he intends to use this a bit recklessly, will not even put his own proper name on there. I suppose there must be, I think it was you that was saying that government is powerful, and government, I hope they can get to all of this, because there are people who come on with the sole purpose of not being transparent.
Of course. Let me say this. There is a wide gulf of trust between the leaders and the led. Are you getting my point now? And that is why this hate speech or social media bill, or whatever you want to call it, is now a subject of debate.
Hate speech on the one hand, and fake news on the other.
So I think our leaders also need to ensure that they don't demand, they earn the trust of the citizens, honestly. But because right now, the citizens...
What is the extent to which government itself wants to be transparent?
I'm coming to that, honestly.
But hold the thought, sir, because
yes, sir.
I've got to bring on a guest who, listen, in that form is a guest. Okay. But good morning, Mr. Joshua, in Irewale Day in Ogun State. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, and
thank you for calling.
I say happy celebration to our Muslim brothers.
Indeed.
Thank you very much.
And happy holidays, everyone.
Indeed.
Social media regulation is going to be a little bit difficult the way we are having all these conversations. But I see the angle of solving this problem through maybe promoting social responsibility. And like they said, the masses should be educated. You see, social responsibility is more of at least nipping certain things in the bud. As of now, nobody is being punished for any fake news or whatever. But we know that these news, fake news, before they become popular, they emanate from some bloggers.
Of course.
So tracing the source of a news that becomes a source of a problem in the society should be what everybody is focusing on. You see, if you hold people responsible for what they spread, and people know that I'm going to be punished for this if it happens, the source will be the way to nip it in the bud. So I think we should be looking at social responsibility rather than regulation. Law will not stop this thing.
Okay, Mr. Joshua, interesting. Because he really came into the point that we were talking about, that it's going to depend on individual responsibility.
I was actually going to say this.
Okay,
and then, even, of course, ensuring that people take responsibility for how they use social media should not just be the responsibility of the government. Even religious leaders, I need to say this, religious leaders, it's rather unfortunate that even we have religious leaders who push out fake news, honestly. And these are people that have, a very large following, and people read what their leaders say, and then they follow on when they follow it. So it's our collective responsibility to ensure that we tell people to take responsibility for how they use social media.
All right, and I like that point you made, because we touched on it in the last segment.
Okay.
And one of the scholars actually had complained that government comes to us as firefighters. That when
there's
they
a
have,
problem.
Yes, don't it down.
You're not useful.
You're not useful. I don't know the extent to which that is actually the case, but it was a respected, scholar who said that. Look, he's speaking from experience, and in his experience, because the point that religious leaders have a part that they can also play in this. They have powerful voices. religious leaders have accounts.
Yeah,
they also tweet out there. They're on all of their accounts. Is it Instagram? Is it Twitter? Is it Facebook? They're on all of those accounts. Do you also agree with him that they can use their massive influence to discourage untoward behavior, and that they are not doing so? No religious leader is saying that falsehood is good. No religious leader is encouraging it. But I don't know the extent to which they are speaking against it.
Even in sociology, the agents of civilization or socialization, the religious group or religious house, is recognized, the school, the mass media, and so on and so forth. So this means their role is not so small. So if
but
they
are playing it?
No, they might not. They are not. Some of them are not playing it. There are some that plays it. But then again, how much are we sure that they have not also been hijacked? Just like it doesn't matter. The scholar that you said, even if he had not mentioned it, we know that some of them are not partisan. So if they are partisan, it is going to influence what they tell their congregation. Like Malama said that you also said that they have an account and all that. Yeah. Apart from this is the modern one. The traditional one, they preach in churches, in mosques. What you are preaching, is it the truth? Are you not trying to incite them directly or indirectly? These are the things. And again, this is the role of the religious leaders. We have the role of even lawyers and journalists. Like I have always said, although I believe that we might not yet be in democracy, when civil rule though, but I think that lawyers and journalists, I used to tell people that this democracy, we have a very serious duty role to play. If we don't play it well, we might be the one to blame. And when you look at it very well, in criminology, that's what they call victimless offenses. Now, in this situation, if government has created, it's not just enough to make the law. It's not just enough to pass the law. It's not just law enough to create offenses by these laws that have been passed. But the government must go further to see that the enforcement is effective. Where the enforcement is not effective, then it is as if we have not got law. Our problem in Nigeria is not lack of laws. So
it is accountability.
Yes, so if if Mr. A has done this, you didn't punish him, Mr. B has done it because of your interest or hatred against him, you are not punishing him. Then you are applying the law, discriminately. So in other words, it will not be effective.
So it's a society-wide affair.
That is it.
And everybody has their responsibility, because again, sometimes we complain in our society, in our country here, that accountability is compromised. In short, there is no fair deployment of the law. It could be deployed unfairly. So the point that is being made is that we're all involved in this.
We are all involved.
Even government, when it suits it, carries on in a particular sort of way. But government probably now has to lead by example. The accountability thing.
Of course. So earlier on, I was talking about religious leaders. I was actually not trying to say that religious leaders push out fake news, even though we have some religious leaders who do that. We don't need to deny that.
Well, all sorts of prophecies are on there.
Course.
I don't know. They put all sorts of prophecies
what I'm
online.
Essentially driving at is that every Nigerian belongs to one religion or the other. Are you getting my point now? Either you go to the mosque or you go to church. So you have a leader.
Don't forget the traditional.
Yes. So we all have our leaders, our religious leader that we listen to. So when we use religious leaders as an instrument of telling people to take responsibility for how they use social media, and what we are saying in essence is that religious leaders also have an important role to play. So that is it.
Okay, let me take Autumn Uda, if I got that right, in Plateau State. Good morning, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Is it Arthur? Good morning.
Yeah, morning.
Yeah.
My contribution here is this. We should just be careful what we pray for.
We just might get it. We just might get it.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Thanks for having me. Yeah. I think my contribution here is simple. We just should be careful about what we pray for.
Okay.
Because the interest with which this government is pursuing this social media deal of a thing is giving people cause for concern.
Okay.
Because, I agree that social media should be monitored, and people should be responsible for what they post or for what they disseminate. But for us to start praying for a bill, the government might take it to another level in which they'll try to gag the citizenry, thereby depriving us of our freedom of speech and freedom of expression. And by the time our eyes would have been opened, it would have been too late for us to accept ourselves and correct the wrong. So my own here is this: if the government has nothing to say, the government should allow everybody to disseminate what he thinks is right, what he thinks he knows, what he thinks is the correct thing, and the person should be held responsible for his actions and for his words. Okay. If you remember vividly, this government came to power mostly through the power of the social media, protests and what have you. And we woke up today and they're saying they don't like protests, they don't like this and they don't like, and these are the same beneficiaries of this thing they don't like now. So my point is this: now they're up there, they should also feel the heat. They should do things right and let their conscience judge them. And if anybody, if the citizens are disseminating fake news, they should be held responsible and dealt with. Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling in, Doctor. An interesting perspective. Now, in relation to this thing that we're talking about, look, we see, for instance, other uses of the social media. Take the president of the U.S. He has an account, and he's very, very frequent on there. Of course. And you see all sorts of responses. Not all of it is in support. A lot of it is definitely against. And he's not just the president of the U.S. It's all the prime ministers. Just about everybody has an account. Yes. And they express themselves freely. Of course. So what is so different about us or our situation or our circumstance? If other world leaders are able to take hits to their government and are not saying that, oh, you're going to bring the country down, what is it about us? Maybe you'd like to take a stab at that first. What is it about us?
What is about us is that we are still at the cadre of, this socialization. I would say we are still at the lowest ebb, probably. And that anything that anybody says, whether government or a government agency or a government person and all that, you want to see it from the perspective that, oh, it's because it's from this tribe or it's because it's from this religion. Absolutely. Until we are able to transcend all this narrow present, we may not be able to go too far. Because over there, people are enlightened, people know they are right, they can enforce it, but we are not. We only do, if you say there is no, it's a simulated.
If I don't agree with a government policy and then I feel free to write it under my name, so
yes,
then
you write it well with facts, not just bringing anything not just to say, oh, in my village yesterday, this is what some youth are doing, they are rejecting so person, when you were not even in your village. Now, outside, falsehood. Outside there, people they know that they owe a responsibility to the government. They know that they owe a duty to be truthful, to be a good citizen. But in Nigeria here, or in Africa generally, they believe, the first thing, we believe we belong to a particular tribe, before being a Nigerian. So if this is the situation, we will find it difficult.
Do you subscribe to that point of view? And the question I asked, so what's different about us? Other countries, other world leaders, people criticize their president. They don't think of it as...
I follow Donald Trump, and I see the kind of responses that his tweets
and do you sometimes wonder that, how can this happen in Nigeria?
Of course. There are so many things you see that you will begin to wonder, can this ever happen in Nigeria? And so you see a situation whereby someone is criticizing the president for maybe saying something or for introducing a particular policy, and nobody is arresting anybody, and nobody is reading any religious meaning. I think he has spoken brilliantly well. You know, Nigerians are highly religious. Are you getting my point now? Every single thing, when Jonathan was in power, whatever he did then, people read religious meanings into it. He was a Christian, he was doing this against the Muslims, and now we have a Muslim in power. You have people saying that when Buhari does this, he's a Fulani man, he's a Muslim man and all that. We read religious sentiment, religious meanings into every single policy introduced by the government. And that is why it is difficult for us, what you are talking about now, that is why it's difficult for us to do in Nigeria, because we are too sentimental, we are too religious.
That's why we need government to help us a bit.
So that is it.
Yes. Till we get to that stage that you're talking about.
Government has to now be very firm and enforce the law the way it is without fearing anybody whose source is God.
Okay.
If it's your brother, deal with him. If it's not your brother, deal with him. They will criticize you though, but at a point they will get used to it that this is the way the government wants to do it. So, but when you now spare your brother and punish another person, that is where there will be problem, which our government cannot do without.
Thank you
so
very
our
much.
law should not be applied selectively.
Selectively, that is important.
We've got to leave it here. Thank you very much for this, conversation on, the social media, fake news, and responsibility. I'd like to thank you, Mr. Kabir.
Yes, and we have to, even thank your organization also for still forging ahead.
Indeed, thank you very much, and also our appreciation to Ustaz Abdul Ghani Raji,
providing this platform to also air our views. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So that's our program. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Falani. Remember, COVID-19 is still out there.